My name, my name is Vanessa Joseph, and I humbly serve as the chairwoman of the Haitian-American Voter Empowerment Coalition, or HAV. As the daughter of Haitian immigrants, my love for Haitian culture goes well beyond the food, the music, and the language. Just like many of you, I am proud of Haiti's history. I am proud that we were the first independent Black nation, and I am proud that we were the first nation to abolish slavery. Certainly, this was not an easy feat given that our ancestors came from different African tribes, but they genuinely believed that l'union fait la force, and they put aside their differences and focused on a singular essential right, freedom and liberty for all. Today, as a community, we must return to this mindset. We need l'union. Nous besoin l'union plus passer tout l'autre bagay jodi. Our shared interests must come before our differences. It is said that in politics, there can be no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, but only permanent interests. No matter what your party affiliation, your religious beliefs, where you come from, and where you live, we are calling upon you to join in this movement. For far too long, our votes have been fragmented and therefore diluted. Yes, our votes have mattered, but they have not leveraged tangible results for the Haitian community. That is why I am proud to invite you to join the Haitian-American Voter Empowerment Coalition as we work together to carry this movement forward. HAV is the result of a consensus building amongst the myriad of local and national organizations and individuals determined to ensure that the Haitian electorate is informed, empowered, and engaged, and that the votes of the Haitian electorate are valued. There are many ways in which you can work with HAV, and we need community champions across the United States and abroad who can help to motivate Haitian-American voters within your locality. But if you don't have much time to volunteer, then we urge you to consider making a contribution to HAV. Of course, politics are expensive, but if each of us makes a small sacrifice and financially contributes to the cause, we can make a significant impact on the upcoming elections and future elections. While we are living in very challenging times as a result of the pandemic, we cannot allow it to distract us from continuing to fight for the causes that matter to us most. After all, by piti bashish, it may have been shy battle. Change is always possible. But it is up to each generation, each and every single one of us to make it happen. I hope our generation does not only wish to change the status quo, but that we really work to make it happen. Our generational task now is to repeat our ancestors' footprints and their models. L'union fait la force. That being said, I invite you to visit our website at www.havcoalition.org to make your contribution or sign up to join this coalition, our coalition. I thank you so much for your consideration and your commitment to moving our community forward.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the first day of the NAAHP Haitian-American Candidate Proposal. In spite of all that we have been dealing with, we cannot neglect our civic duty. In fact, now more than ever, we have to stay informed and get engaged in the system if we ever want things. With 2020 being a very important election year, it brings us so much joy to see our very own brothers and sisters on the ballot. Let's together take advantage of this opportunity to get familiar with their platforms and what they seek to achieve on behalf of the Haitian American community. I am your moderator this evening, and my name is Nadia Joseph. I am the City Clerk of North Miami. I am a nonprofit immigration attorney, and I am also the chairwoman of the Haitian-American Voters Empowerment Coalition. It gives me great pleasure to be moderating this panel with these amazing guests and candidates. And so let's jump right in. Welcome, everyone. It's such a pleasure to see each of you. And before we dive into the conversation, please briefly introduce yourself and tell us for which position you are a candidate. So we'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Mack Bernard.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mack Bernard, Palm Beach County Commissioner in Palm Beach County, Florida. I'm just really happy and excited to be part of this symposium. Want to thank, Athali Cayo and Molina Jean-Louis, and, Vanessa, you're the moderator and also the city clerk for the city of North Miami. I just want to thank all the candidates who are here, and I just look forward to having this discussion and to talk about, the future of the state of Florida and the Haitian community. Thank you.
Absolutely. So why don't we go to Nancy?
Hi, everyone. I am Nancy Metayer, and I am a candidate for Coral Springs Commissioner Seat 3. I am a scientist, a policy wonk, and I enjoy everything climate change. I also have organized internationally and domestically, where I've worked on Haitians with accessing clean water and healthcare. As well, I've organized with electeds for nearly a decade now. I've worked on a national, on a state, local, and federal level, where I served at the Florida House of Representatives, U.S. Senate, and at the White House. So I'm so happy to be here, and thank you all for having me.
And we're happy to have you. Why don't we go next to Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited to be here today with everybody who I see, I know, and all my favorite people here. So thank you so much. I am Cherfilus-McCormick, and I am running for United States House Representatives for District 20. District 20 encompasses Broward and Palm Beach County. I'm a mom. I have two kids, Ismani Curling and Jackson McCormick. And I also am a lawyer, a healthcare advocate, and I've been trying to end healthcare disparities in our communities for more than 10 years now. And I'm running for Congress, and I'm super excited. As I said, we've been fighting a long fight, and the community has really been pushing us, and we are ready for change and to make all the things that need to be done. We need to complete the work that our generation has been tasked with, and that's making sure we have economic inclusion and that we all seen as equal people and get those things that our Constitution promised us.
Awesome. Wow. And why don't we go next to Marie Woodson? It seems that we may have lost Marie Woodson. And so I guess what we'll do is until she joins us again, I will jump into the questions. But for everyone who's viewing this live tonight, please feel free to drop questions into the comment section. And as long as there's time, we will definitely get to them. So, okay, great. We have Marie Woodson back. Please introduce yourself briefly and tell us which position you're running for.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Marie Woodson, and I'm a candidate running for State House District 101. It's a pleasure for me to be here with every one of you, and thank you so much for the invitation. I'm running for District 101. District 101 encompasses Hollywood, Pembroke Pines, Miramar, Hallandale, West Park, and Pembroke Park. I'm in this race because I decided after 35 years of county government experience, after I came from Haiti when I was 21, soon thereafter, 6 months after, I started a job in county government. And I have accomplished about 35 years of experience, and I was the chairwoman of the Commission for Women, and I've been a member of the Legislative Committee for many years. So I'm vying for that seat because I think we do need representation in Broward County. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. This question will go to Commissioner Mack Bernard and Nancy Metayer. And of course, a reminder, please feel free to ask questions that you may have in the comment section. Nous met poser n'importe question que nous gagnons. Et sûr et certain, yo t'a trop content pour répondre à question nous. So, Nancy, we'll start with you. Very often during presidential elections, voters tend to vote for the president, they'll vote for the senator, maybe a House of Representative, and some other partisan seats only because they see the party affiliation listed, right? So they'll just vote for the ballot. And many times this is because voters aren't informed about the functions or roles of the other seats. And so how are you stressing the importance of voting for local seats?
That's a great question. So first and foremost, commissioners impact your day-to-day lives, whether that is filling potholes in the roads, whether that's advocating for a traffic light in a very busy intersection in your city, water, lights, internet, managing the budget, the city budget, which internally impacts the day-to-day lives of residents in the city. It's so important that folks do not only focus on the top ballot candidates, but they also focus on local candidates as well, because again, they impact your day-to-day lives. As we've seen with the COVID pandemic, we are the ones, or local government are the ones that are basically enforcing the executive orders, ensuring that people are doing what they need to do in terms of wearing masks, making sure that the businesses are adhering to public health concerns. So it is so important that you pay attention to local electeds, whether it is their stance on particular financial needs in your community, whether it is their stance on our local school system. It's extremely important that folks do their research and know the candidates that are running on a local level.
Awesome. And I see that we have Nadia Assad, who has just joined us. Welcome, Nadia. And please briefly introduce yourself and tell us for which position that you are a candidate.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me, and thanks for the opportunity. I was having some issues with my laptop. I finally decided to switch to the cell phone, which is working perfectly. But thank you so much for having me. My name is Nadia Assad. I'm a candidate for the Hill Commission Seat 3. It is a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the platform. Looking forward to this platform tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. So as we lay a foundation for the rest of this conversation, I think it's really important to talk about what each of these roles actually do. And a lot of the reasons people just may not vote, like I said before, is just they're not informed on the functions or the roles and what role they play. So it would be amazing if you all could just please summarize what role each of these positions play within our political system. And of course, I'm speaking to the position that you're running for. So let's go ahead and start with Sheila.
So the position I'm running for is United States House of Representatives, which is one of the houses in Congress. There's two chambers, House of Representatives and Senate. The importance of what we do is really the making laws and legislation, which is the power of the pen. We write legislation that affects our lives and makes our lives better. We see examples of this every single day, especially with the stimulus bills that we have coming forward and some of the bills that we have dealing with COVID. The second thing that we also do is that we are the supervisory body and have oversight over all federal agencies. So if you have any kind of questions or issues you're having with immigration, IRS, if you're in the military, you can also reach out to your congressman and they can start an investigation for you to make sure that they're resolving those situations. And then we also help when we're appointing different people to certain positions, like Supreme Court, Congress will have hearings. So we are kind of like the checks and balances for the judicial system and also the president.
Awesome, thank you. Marie? You might be on mute.
The role of us, actually, no.
You're fine now.
I'm fine now. Exactly. The role of a state legislator is pretty simple, actually. Not simple in what you have to do, but to summarize it, first you have to pass good legislation that can impact the state of Florida. Well, impacting your district first, but as well, it can impact the entire state of Florida depending on the legislation that you pass. As well, you are responsible to bring down resources, to bring down funding from the state. And some of those funds really come from the different counties and cities. They go up to the state, and then you have to fight for your district, fight for your community in order to bring down the resources. But as a whole, you are a public servant. It's not just about passing legislation and bringing down the resources. You are like a voice for the district that you are running for, and you're responsible to make sure that the needs of the residents are met. In a nutshell, that's what you really do. I've been a public servant all my life, and I intend to continue the work that I've been doing.
You know, it's really interesting that you bring the point about bringing resources down into the district, right? Bringing it down into the communities. Is there an actual formal process for that? Is that just something you as a person just say, you know what, I have $10 million in my bag, I'm just going to give everybody $1 million? Or is there a process by which people must seek to access that?
Well, there's a budget. You know, the state has a budget, just like for county government, we have a budget. We have to make sure that we balance the budget. The balance has to be budgeted. But, you know, Tallahassee is a different piece of, you know, it's a different land because you have more Republicans than you have Democrats. As well, the governor has the right to veto certain things. So you might think in the budget, you might say, okay, I want such and such amount of money to be allocated for this program or this community. At the end of the day, it's all about the governor and also as well as how many people, you know, agree with what you're doing, and you have to try to get the vote to get certain things passed. Yes, there's a process just like everything else, but one thing that I know for sure, I'm not afraid to go and fight to get what I need for my community. As well, I know how to work with the other side to get those things done. You have to reach across the aisle to get what you need for your community. And I'm all about doing that. I have done it in county government, and that's what I will continue to do.
Awesome.
Thanks.
So Nancy, Nadia, and Commissioner Mack Bernard, you all are running for local seats on city councils or city commissions. So I'll ask the three of you the same question, right? What is your role within your municipality? Or what would your role be? And what is your role? So we'll go ahead and start with Nadia.
Can you hear me now better?
Yes.
Thank you so much. The role of a commissioner is basically be there for the community. First of all, you are in charge of all everything that's going on in the city, from the budget, from the police department, from the parks, from the sewer, everything that has to do with how the city runs is the role of the commissioner and more. Furthermore, you want to make sure that the city have the adequate resources for different programs that they have in the city to make sure that everybody lives comfortably. And the most important one that I like on top of that is the fact that you get to communicate with everyone, making sure that you have a city that is united. As a commissioner, my main function, my main mission right now as an elected Haitian elected official is to unite everybody. Because in my city right now, you have the Jamaican on the side, you have the Jewish on the side. All of those work could be done together. If we put together, it will have been more effective. So one of those things that we're trying to do right now is to bring everybody together to get everything done.
Thank you. Commissioner Mack Bernard, and do you see any changes in your next term?
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
I asked, what has your role been as a city commissioner, and what do you see as maybe changes that you'd like to make in the next term?
Well, first of all, you know, I'm a county commissioner for county, so where we have over 39 municipalities in Palm Beach County. And, you know, when I initially started to run for re-election, you know, it's your basic, you know, issues that you're addressing for your residents in your district. However, what we've learned with COVID, you know, everything that we were taught to do is just thrown out of the book, where we need different leadership. And just think about it, for the state of Florida, the numbers for today, 532,606 residents have tested positive. Over 30,000 residents are in hospital, and over 8,186 deaths. That's in the state of Florida. And if you're looking at, you know, we're dealing with a health crisis, and then also we're dealing with a economic crisis for a lot of our residents. The unemployment rate in the United States is over 11%, and in different parts of the state of Florida, we have 14%. In areas Black areas are at 14, 15% unemployment rate. And if you look at the people who filed for first-time claims for unemployment last week, it was like 1.186 million people filed for unemployment. And then you had in Congress, which Sheila's running for Congress, they're having a hard time passing a bill, the HEROES Act, which was passed by Congress. And then if you look at it, over, I believe, like 70,000 Floridians lost their pandemic assistant last week because Congress failed to act. And then, if you go into the state of Florida, the unemployment system has been horrendous. I believe, Ms. Woodson would probably tell you, a lot of the constituents in that area, they haven't been able to file for unemployment compensation. And it's ridiculous. And we have, in the state of Florida, we have one of the lowest, like to get unemployment, it's like $275, and it's for 12 weeks, which is just ridiculous. So we need people who are going to go to Tallahassee, who are going to change the system because it's not working for everyday Floridians. What I can tell you is that right now, running for re-election and doing the job, it's dealing with the pandemic. That's like the number one concern for most of the residents, I would say, in Palm Beach County, probably in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, all the way through the state of Florida. Also, we're dealing with an economic crisis, foreclosures, evictions that we're going to have to do. We're going to have to help our small businesses to recover. We learned last week, COVID came, a hurricane, that we were prepared for. And then with the census and then school reopening. So you name it, like this is a time for us to have good, solid leadership. And that's when you send me the text to be part of this conversation. That's the reason why, because I'm happy to hear some of these young leaders who are taking over for the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nancy, what do you see your role being for the city of Coral Springs?
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. So as Nadia had mentioned, your key responsibility is really being able to address the issues of your constituents and the residents of your city, and in my case, Coral Springs. So with that being said, my bosses are all the residents of would be all the residents of Coral Springs. So really ensuring that all their needs are met in a way that everyone is able to thrive in the city of Coral Springs. And it's important that we not only continue doing the day-to-day work to continue to allow the city to function the way it needs to, but also doing things to improve. So we should be thinking about economic development. As Commissioner Mack Bernard just mentioned, like COVID has really hit our communities in a way that like people just are still waiting for their unemployment check. So how are we as a commission ensuring that people can still live? So Coral Springs recently just passed a coronavirus pandemic fund, which will assist residents in Coral Springs with paying their rental and mortgage payments. So incentives like that, or thinking about how are we addressing climate change in our city? Our city is growing, our population is growing, and we are building, we are developing. How are we ensuring that our new development not only has affordable housing implemented in it, as well as it's built in a sustainable way? So ensuring that when our infrastructures go up, they are able to be resilient and combat a hurricane that we just missed last week, right? Ensuring that folks, we see it today, that it is able to sustain itself for future generation, that we are not going to have to be dealing with flooding in between 10 to 20 years. So our job is really to ensure that our city is here, and it's here to benefit future generations. So I'm looking forward towards November 3rd, but also looking forward to working with other commissioners on the dais when I become Commissioner of Coral Springs to really address these issues.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, Sheila, you, I have to say, are a woman of determination. If I'm not mistaken, you ran once.
Yes.
Didn't go the way that you may have anticipated, but now you're running again. And so tell us, why are you running again? What made you decide to take a second chance? And what are you doing to ensure that the result is different from the last one?
The first time I ran, I've never been in politics on that side, with the political side. I've been doing policy and going to DC, lobbying and writing bills. And it was just a sense of urgency. The catalyst was my daughter. My daughter has had a learning disability. I found out my last year of law school. And, I looked for resources. I did everything. And, it's like I was suffering silently. Everybody from Haitian household, my mother's like, and I'm like, no, this is what they're diagnosing her with. And we just couldn't get the right resources. And then I spoke to other parents, and I noticed that our children are being diagnosed disproportionately. It seems like every Black and brown child is getting diagnosed. And I brought it up on one of my lobbying events, and it was just kind of brushed off. And then I started seeing more healthcare disparities. I started arguing about it more, and no one was really listening. And I saw the urgency as they were stripping away the Affordable Health Care Act. And I said, I have to do it now. It's either now or never. And so we had 3 months to do it. We only had like $30,000, which is nothing going against an incumbent who had $800,000. And we were able to get close to 30% of the votes within 3 months. And we never did this before. I just used the mechanisms I use for business, because I've been running, I've been CEO of a healthcare company, one in Miramar and one in West Palm Beach. So we just used our regular mechanisms. From there, we actually just kept on leveraging ourselves and speaking up and having events and talking to people more, just being more engaged on the political platform. And then COVID hit, which just totally kind of blew up the issues that I've been arguing about: economic inclusion, economic development, healthcare disparities. Then we saw COVID start hitting the Black community much worse due to comorbidities such as high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. Everything we were fighting for in 2018 and the devastation that we were trying to prevent, it happened. And it just gave us the platform to really start talking about what's really going on. How did we get here? It's because Congress was dormant. Congress was not looking at us as a community. We weren't getting paid fairly, so we could have had some money for a rainy day for now. We weren't covered. We were historically being denied jobs that had healthcare benefits. And so that's why we're being hit the hardest. So right now, we've just been leveraging that. And we're in a really great place where we're just moving forward. And we know that there's going to be a change, but more so the people see that. So we're excited.
Awesome. We're excited for you. So Marie Woodson, you are a retired public administrator who's done a great deal of work for Miami-Dade and Broward counties. And listen, the millennials are trying to retire, but you said, no, we're not going to stay in retirement, right? And so what are you hoping to bring to these communities that you're looking to serve within the Florida State House of Representatives?
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for that question. And let me tell you, before I even answer your questions, you're doing an amazing job. You're doing a fantastic job in the city of North Miami, because I have seen and heard some of the changes. People are talking and they are seeing a difference in the city of North Miami. So I'm proud of the work that you have done. And I want you to know that we are standing with you as Haitian, as women, as commissioners. Nothing against men, but I'm just saying we're standing together with the sister.
I have 3 daughters.
I know, and you know what it's like. You have daughters, mothers, wife, you name it. So anyway, so keep up the good work, Vanessa. After 35 years of county experience, I've always told people my story, how my father always told me that always take everything serious, work very hard, and when you make it, always take another one along with you. And my father is someone who never stopped working. And I really believe in that you don't stop until your last day. And I was blessed and fortunate to have started working in government at the age of 21. When I landed here, I did not even speak English when I started in Miami-Dade County. I have a story where when I started, I used to be afraid of answering the phone, because in Haiti, after you fin fait philosophie, so you come here, you're speaking English just like you're speaking French. So you don't really know, you don't really speak the language. So I had a Haitian working at the Caleb Center where I started. And when the phone used to ring, I was a social worker aide, actually, when I started, making $445 biweekly. So she used to say to me, I used to be afraid to answer the phone, and she'll say, Marie, I have your back. I have your back. So those words stuck with me, the fact that I had someone there for me, and I have an obligation to be there for others, like my brothers and sisters. So after 35 years of working in county government where I started, at the bottom and work my way up to the top, where I was in charge of 5 major divisions for a county of $7.8 billion. So I felt like I have an obligation to take this experience and go to Tallahassee and continue the work that I've been doing in order to make my community a better place. When I look at our community in Broward County, taking, for example, our seniors, we don't have a place where our seniors who are aging can say they're going there on a daily basis, for, just like we have in other communities. When you look at the Hispanics, you look at other communities, they have resources for the seniors. They have more resources for the elders. Well, we can do better as well as a community in order to make sure that our seniors have a better quality of life, because they don't speak the language, they don't understand the system. So we have an obligation to create that space for them in order for them to have a better quality of life. When I'm looking at our younger generations, like people like you, after you leave college, you end up with those big bills and you can't even afford to rent an apartment, let alone, to pay an apartment for $2,000 a month. My daughter, my youngest, is 20. She's in college now. My oldest graduated, and he couldn't get out to afford his own apartment. So I have a plan. I don't want to put my plan out there yet, because when you have opponents, you don't want to put everything out. But I have a big plan to help our younger generation. And I'm not promising that I would solve the world's problem, but I promise you one thing: I would fight very hard to make certain things happen for our community. I have a lot when it comes to our veterans. Remember, I started in social services for Miami-Dade County, and I had a career where I was in charge of social services from the entire county, from the north end to the south end, where I had 13 neighborhood service centers. I was in charge of senior services as well. I was in charge of domestic violence, Greater Miami Service Corp that dealt with the youth, and psychological services. I was responsible as well for finance. I was a division director. So I touch every aspect of human life. So I know how to go and get certain things done. So this is why I want to go. I won't be able to do everything that I want to do, but guess what? I will be doing certain things to make our community a better place to live.
Awesome. We love to hear it. So COVID-19 has affected all of our lives in so many different ways. And I'm sure, listen, I ran a campaign. It was hard for me. I can only imagine what y'all are going through in these times, and having to campaign in these times. But I applaud all of you for still continuing to push through despite everything that's going on, because we have pandemics on several fronts. So to all of you, surely campaigning has changed, but how have you been able to pivot your campaign strategies to adapt to these times? And we'll start with Sheila.
Well, for us, what we immediately had to do is start our constituent care, basically. So we shifted immediately and started providing for the community. We realized that a lot of Haitian businesses were actually suffering. So we had an arrangement with different ones throughout the district where we would purchase, let's say, $1,000 worth of food, and then we would partner with churches, Haitian churches, and hand out the food, kind of keeping the economy going and keeping up people's, just their morale. Because, you can't go to church and some people live for that. So even if you can come pick up the food, what much, at least for me. So we were doing that. We also took the opportunity to register people to vote when they were coming through, but register. Then we also started giving out free PPE. We gave out free gloves. Some people needed face shields, just depending on their needs. And as we're doing that, we're like, hey, you don't like what's going on? Let's register to vote. So we were kind of like pulling them in so they could start understanding the difference between if you're getting this, the government can help you. This is how you can effectuate change, letting them know that. And we did that cyclically. We did a whole bunch of churches and a whole bunch of different restaurants. And we saw that, it was our new form of campaigning, because we couldn't have an event. So we just did a drive-through, and we would have a DJ even, and they would come through. So we shifted there, and it's been the most enjoyable campaign that I've had, just because I like people, so I think that actually helped, and I enjoy the process. So I think COVID kind of shifted us to a place where we had to be ingenious, and I enjoyed doing it. I also saw some other people doing it. Maddie, I know you were out there because I saw you in Alexandria. So it was just fun being out there.
That's amazing. Yeah. Nadia, how has the campaigning changed for you in these times?
Well, it was very hard providing on top, additionally to my campaign. I went back to school. I got 4 classes that I was taking. So it was like, oh my God, if I knew that COVID was gonna come, I would not have go ahead and take those 4 classes. But like Sheila was doing, we take the opportunity to educate the community about the COVID, how to take care of themselves, how to avoid it. We take the opportunity as well by doing drive-through food drive-through, and also PPE gear for them to protect themselves. We did also take the opportunity to educate them about the census. While they're here, we ask them, okay, did you fill out your census? Because this is how one other way for you to get more resources in the community. Some of them will say no, and we'll get the phone right away, and then we'll do it for them. It was a challenge because you cannot actually go physically do the canvassing that we usually do, like walking door to door and everything else. But at least we learned that we as a community, we can come together whenever something happens. That's when you're gonna see that whole then we find out how strong we were together, how we could pull things together with that COVID-19. It's been hard, but we're pulling it through. We're pulling it through.
Nancy, before the pandemic hit, I remember I was knocking on doors for you. I think it was like a weekend day, and I just went and knocked on doors. Listen, you could have had me for hours that day. It wouldn't have mattered. But now you can't knock on doors physically. What are you up to?
So that quickly changed. No more knocking on doors, but we are doing wellness checks with our residents in Coral Springs. So I have amazing volunteers along with myself who are making sure that we're calling folks, ensuring that they're completing their census, and also participating in food distribution drives throughout the city. That is something that I've been doing to ensure that I'm meeting the needs of my community. Our community has fallen some tough times, and what better way for us to step up into these leadership roles without a title? So I took advantage of that. Definitely continue connecting with my community members, whether that is through virtual conversations that need to happen. I had a virtual conversation a few weeks ago about unemployment, and a lot of folks found that very, very informative, and it helped them navigate through this horrific process with the state. So it's just really, truly needing, I don't see it as campaigning. It's just like, where is the need in my community and where can I step in and step up?
That's awesome. Commissioner Mack, I mean, your workload has probably doubled, if not tripled. I mean, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole of elected officials, right? I'm just the clerk. So if my workload has doubled, I know yours has probably tripled or quadrupled. So in addition to the pandemic, in addition to the workload that's, gone out of control, how are you able to campaign in these times and really connect with the voters?
Actually, I have not had the chance and the opportunity to campaign at all. And so since we started the campaign I believe in April of last year. And so, but when I filed for re-election, I pretty much raised as much money as possible. So, I've raised close to $250 in the bank. And so I had enough money on the campaign side. And pretty much since March, I haven't had the chance to campaign at all. And I don't have a primary election, so my election is not until November. So that means that, the people who are running right now, they have more of an urgent to get to the voters. But for me as an incumbent, and I've just been working on pandemic and just really helping our constituents. It's just helping the residents, no campaign at all. So it's a little bit different, but I just don't have the time to campaign. It's all about trying to help the residents to get through this pandemic. But in regards to regular campaigning, the only thing that's changed is just the fact that I'm looking at the numbers in terms of, typically, in the past, most of the elections were done on election day, which is, I believe, August 18th. But the numbers are completely different right now. So if someone who's running in August, if you're looking at your numbers should be you should be spending about 90% of your elections right now are through absentees. Those are people who are mailing them in. So I'm thinking in District 101, if you're looking at the numbers, probably close to 9 or 10,000 or 12,000 people should have already mailed their ballot. So the candidates should be focusing on the absentee ballot. Not a lot of people are going to vote early voting right now, so it's a little bit different. So before the election, if you look at your numbers, you're going to have like close to 60 to 75% of your votes are going to be cast before election day. So the way that you've campaigned will be completely different than it's in the past.
Wow. So now we know that we can also call on Commissioner Mack Bernard if we need a campaign manager. That's some good information. I needed to take notes, but I didn't want to step off camera. So, Marie, I think that this question goes for you too. And in my personal opinion, the gas stations should probably allow you to put those big billboards in front of their spots because you've been doing caravans. And so you must be spending money on gas. I've seen caravans on your timeline frequently, and I think it's so cool. So talk to us about what you've been doing now that we have to switch the way we campaign and interact with our voters.
Yes, we do. But before I even answer, Commissioner Mike Bernard spilling the beans. Don't say anything so my opponents won't know anything about District 1. That's a joke. That's a joke. And then you say you raise about 250,000. Please send some money my way. I would really appreciate it. Okay, you're doing very well. Yes, actually, COVID has greatly impacted the way that we campaign. But guess what? I also saw a lot of opportunities and, in what we are going through in COVID. And just like Nancy mentioned, we shifted, our focus in the sense we have been reaching out to the voters to some other ways. I have partnered with a lot of the churches, with Commissioner Alexandria Davis of Myanmar to do a lot of food drives where I was able to go to the resident's house, drop the food, even though I do practice social distancing, don't get me wrong. But I found ways to connect with them, standing at the door or even drop the food at the door. Then you stay, from a distance and you talk to them. We have done a lot of callings, like Nancy's saying, wellness check as well. And of course, I did caravans because a caravan is a way for you to really show presence, to get your name out there. So we have done some successful ones. But really, I have been busy helping them. I'm not in Tallahassee yet, and I'm contacting Tallahassee. I know people on a first name basis now, just trying to help them to unlock the system for our brothers and sisters who have applied for unemployment and cannot get the money. So I've been successful in helping a lot of people, and as well, a lot of state legislators have reached out to me and said, well, I've seen a lot of good work that you're doing. Your name has been out there. I can't wait to work with you in Tallahassee. So we have had a lot of opportunities through those challenges that we have gone through. And as a first-time candidate, as you can see, I have been able to raise a good amount of money, even with COVID. I'm doing, because even I was endorsed by the Sun Sentinel. So COVID has really helped the campaign in some way, even though that's not what we would want to see. COVID has impacted all of us, but I took those challenges and I turned them into opportunities in order to make the campaign work. And all of us actually have been doing that. And I'm so proud of the work that we have done as brothers and sisters in the Haitian community to get to those seats that we're trying to get to make a difference.
Congratulations on the endorsement. That's really big, not only for you, but for the community as well, to have you recognized by the census as the best candidate for that seat. I always remember that, tough times don't last, right? Tough people do. And
exactly.
Ain't nothing tougher than a Haitian person, right? Ain't nothing tougher. We're the toughest from our history on down. So listen, we're here to stay. So what can we do as a community to continue to inform, educate, and empower our voters to make the right decisions in not only these upcoming elections, but looking beyond, right? Mm-hmm. How do we make sure that each and every single Haitian American who has the right to vote, right, and has the ability to vote, right, so a U.S. citizen, every Haitian American who has a voter registration card, how do we encourage those individuals to get involved in what's happening around them? We'll start with Nadia.
Well, that's a good question. And like you said, it has been very challenging to get those, Haitian American involved in what was going on as far as their civic right. First of all, education is key. We need to educate them as far as the importance of participating in those votes, whether it is local or whether it's a state election. How do we do that? As far as that, in the past, I use the opportunity that I have to do the back to school giveaway drive. Any event that you're doing, instead of just giving them something, you take the opportunity to go ahead and slide some information, put a little nugget into their head. Because at times you will find out that there's some of them, it's not that they don't know the importance of it, but I'm sorry to say it, but we have so many of our Haitian-American elected that were in the past that have give them false hope. And now they're saying that they're not voting for, either is for Haitian-American elected, either is for this president, either is for a senator. They say that they are done because they done being played for. Because they say that right now, that's what I've been hearing from my community. They go ahead and vote for you. And at the end of the day, what is it that they were expecting? They don't have it. So we need to teach them as well that in order for us to get what we need, we have to hold our elected official accountable. If they don't do something that they're supposed to be doing, we need to be able to pull them and then say, okay, we put you here for that position. Where is the result? So we need to teach them that they can also do that, because some of us, we don't know that. So that's one of them. Like I was saying earlier, education is key. We need to start educating them prior to the election. That's something that should be ongoing. The same thing for the census and then, the voter registration. Those things supposed to be ongoing, educative things in the community. Because we usually wait until 1 year or 2 years before the election, a couple of months, and then we want to go crazy and then try to educate them as far as like who we are, what is that gonna be doing when you elect somebody into that particular seat. No, we have to keep on going with those kind of education so they can stay there, and then we pass it along. So I think that would be a great idea if we start working together, especially when you have those organizations like the Haitian-American, Chamber of Commerce, like the many organizations that we have. We need to work together, do actually educational program workshop to educate them, because most of the time so we have to educate them.
Listen, Nadia's coming through with the Haitian proverbs, y'all. Like, she got the whole.
I got them all.
So Commissioner Mack Bernard, how would you respond to that question?
Well, Vanessa, first of all, I do want to make sure that we thank the sponsors for that's provided this program. I believe Chocorella, Golden V Inc., PG Mix, and of course your organization Half Coalition. Because our partners, our sponsors, play a major role in the things that we do. In regards to some of the people who sometimes feel disenchanted, to be honest with you, it's when you're running for office, you're campaigning, but when there's the governing part of it, which is not as easy as people would campaign because they love the noise. But like, for instance, me, elections do have consequences. In 2012 I ran for state senate and I lost by 17 votes, and some of the people who will say, you know what, well, I didn't want to vote, I didn't care, but you know what, we could have had a Haitian senator at that time in 2012, but we were 17 votes short. And then now as a county commissioner in 2016, I came, and one of my first act was to create a minority women-owned business in Palm Beach County. For 17 years, basically white male businesses were receiving close to 97% of a $4 billion budget in the county. So now I came in, and now, which we have a panel with, the panelists are all women who are leading this country, leading the state of Florida. And in Palm Beach County now, minority Black women-owned businesses have the opportunity to flourish in the county. And so if I didn't do that, then those businesses wouldn't get that opportunity. So elections do have consequences. So, sometimes people want instant change, but you've got to work hard. The governing part is not as easy. It's not as sexy. But right now, what people are dealing with is if you didn't vote in the 2016 election, you have failed leadership at the top. And people have died and people have been hurt by all these policies. And so, you know, you've got to vote and you've got to get engaged right now so now where we can make changes.
Awesome. That was so well said. I mean, wow. You know, you make such a great point. We don't always focus on what's essential. We think about the noise that's being made during campaigns, but really the governing is a tough part. And it's an ongoing process, like Nadia said, of educating people throughout. Nancy.
Yeah, if I can add to both what Nadia and Commissioner Mack Bernard just said, it's all about accountability. And the way that we hold elected officials accountable is either voting them in or voting them out. So it's important that we exercise our right to vote. It's important that we hold their feet to the ground when they say that this is how they're going to show up for our communities. So when we vote them in, we say, hey, this is a list of the demands of our communities. We want better schools. We want to make sure that our information is translated in Haitian Creole. Very things that people don't think about, but is very important to our community. So it's important that we exercise that right to vote because like this amazing person once said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So it's important to continue voicing your opinions, and if you can't vote, you will probably know several of people that can vote. Encourage them to do that, whether it's driving them to the polls, whether it's helping them with their research. I think I faded away a little bit. Whether it is connecting them with folks that do know about voter engagement, like just pushing folks in the direction of educating themselves. So yeah, just continue holding our elected officials accountable and
what would
exercising
you
our right
say,
to vote.
Marie? I think that you have just so much experience in local government, and so you've seen how the sausage is made, and you've actually seen that it's discouraging sometimes, right? But you never said, I'm not going to vote, right? So what would you say that we need to do to continue to empower, educate, and inform our electorate?
I am so proud to be at this platform with my sisters and my brother Matt because they have answered the question so beautifully, so eloquently. And I have to say that one of my best moments in the campaign trail is when I find someone who says, well, I don't care. They don't care about me. I'm not going to vote. And I would look at them sometimes, as a candidate, you have to refrain yourself from saying what you really want to say sometimes. You can't just put it out there any way that you want to. But I always take the time to talk to them and ask them, do you want someone to decide for you? Do you want to really have a voice? You might think that you don't have a voice. You keep electing the same people over and over and you're not seeing any results like Nancy said, but you want to keep them in office because by you not voting, you voting for the people that you don't want to be in office. And it's always been a teachable moment for me, especially our younger generation. You'll be surprised how many young people that I found that they lose interest in the system and they don't want to vote. And like I said, I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly in government. We're working for Miami-Dade County for so long. So I always enjoy to let people know how critical it is for you to vote, how critical it is for you to be involved. And our goal, like Nadia mentioned, is to educate our brothers and sisters. Education is key. Hopefully together we will make a difference. And I'm seeing a lot of the people that I've been able to convince, by having several conversations with them about the importance of voting. And sometimes I would even go to the point where I would check for them whether they are active in the system or not and get them reactivated. So let's all do it and continue what we're doing in order for them to see the importance of it and hold people accountable. I agree.
Awesome. And, I'm going to just shamelessly plug the Haitian-American Voters Empowerment Coalition, HAVE, because that's exactly what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to ensure that people are completely informed, they're educated, they feel empowered to go out there and cast their votes for people who are going to keep their best interests in mind. Like you say, it's not about just being voted into office. People have to be accountable to you. And we have to show people how to make accountability happen. It's really sexy these days days to just say, oh, we have to hold our elected officials accountable. Okay, but how do you do that, right? And so we need to have those honest conversations about how we get accountability going. So I'm looking forward to all of you joining the Haitian-American Voters Empowerment Coalition. We do have one question from the audience, and I think it's an interesting question, which is, how would you rate the support from the Haitian community, right? And I think that's a really important question, given that a lot of you are running in places where there's a high Haitian population. So please tell us what that experience is like. We'll start with Marie.
How did I know you were going to start with me on that one? I have to say, as you know, I had a career in Miami-Dade County government, but I've lived in Broward County for 26 years, raised my family here. And when I first started looking at the data about 2.5 years ago, I really realized the number of Haitians that we had in the district. It kept growing and going and going. And I must say that the community has been behind me in Broward County. Even though, of course, your opponent is going to try to get your own people to be against you. Believe they have paid people are in there, they removing my signs, they're doing all kinds of things. But I say one thing to them: you can remove the signs, but you can never mess with my spirit, because my spirit is strong and the community is behind me no matter what they're doing. So I have to say I'm blessed, I'm fortunate. Of course, you're not going to get 100% people to be with you. You are going to have some who's looking at the other side, but I'll remind them of one thing. Remember, at the end of the day, moun kap la pou vraiment, c'est moun ki kompren nou an, et yo te la depuis longtemps, ou pa wè ki sa yo te fait vraiment pour communauté ou la. So the community is standing behind me, and I promise them one thing: I've always been with them, and I will continue to be with them in order to make my community stronger.
Oh, we love to hear it. Commissioner Mack Bernard.
Well, the question is, how would you rate the support from the Haitian community? It's a very simple, answer for me. There's no Mack Bernard as a county commissioner without the Haitian community. And so I have, everything to give to the Haitian community. And because my district is a little bit different, it's a very mixed district where, the Haitian community it's not a majority of the district, but they've given me the opportunity to serve all of the residents of the district. So in that way, we can make it better. So without the Haitian community, there's no Mack Bernard.
Nadia, I sometimes go to Lauderhill to do voter registration because that's part of the work that I do. I'm not voter registration, excuse me, naturalization applications for people in the Lauderhill Hall. And so, I see that most of the people that come are of Jamaican descent, but there's a nice population of Haitians who come through there sometimes. So is Lauderhill, what's the demographic breakdown, and how would you rate the support from the Haitian community? And not just for in Lauderhill, I mean just at large.
Well, just at large. I mean, my campaign went through Lauderhill only at large, of course. But Lauderhill has a very high percentage of Jamaican. But now we have about 79 to 80% of the population. And if you have 79% of Jamaican, Black American, like you see in the census, half of it is Haitian, half of it Jamaican. Probably from a 2% different. So in my community, you'll find out that the Haitian community are very low key. They don't really participate in much, really. My support have been found from the Jamaican sectors. They all support my campaign, the Jewish community, and some of the Hispanic. So it's like right now they heard about, yes, there's a Haitian-American that's going to be elected. She's going to be the first Haitian-American elected. Finally, we're going to have our own representation. So now they're coming out and then coming and participating in different event organizations that we've been doing in Lauderhill. But I will tell you right now, it's like without them, really, there will not be like a Nadia Assad campaign. They have been behind me 100%. The one that finally realized that yes, they have a Haitian, because we know my name is Assad, and they wonder, okay, is she Haitian or not? So now I have to put my flag in my flyers so they can realize that yes, I am actually Haitian. But they have been wonderful. They have come up with idea, and we do so many workshops with them, teaching them about the voter registration, how important it is, about the census and everything else. Some of them, I will tell you quite frankly, that's why I'm very geared on education. We need to step on that because they didn't know. They didn't know about the census, the importance of it. They didn't know about voting for the local ones, right? What is it entail? They didn't know about that. So as you come up and educate them, you'll find out, you'll be surprised in how much helpful and how much support you can find from them. So I'm very happy about that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, if there's a place with some low-key Haitians, it's Coral Springs, because I know a bunch of people who live in Coral Springs that are Haitian. And when I drive through Coral Springs, I'm like, ain't no Haitians out here. I go to, a lot of different, Coral Springs is a place that I used to drive through a lot, right? And I used to go to neighboring cities, and I never ran into Haitians, but there's a Haitian population there. So how would you rate your support from the Haitian community, Nancy? And is it a large population?
Yes. So we are here. We are well and alive in Coral Springs. But I would like to say that we are the fastest growing minority group in Coral Springs. And I'm proud to say that. I love the diversity in my community. I love seeing the melting pot. I love seeing all the Caribbean nations and the different aspects they bring to the community. Now, how I rate my support from the Haitian community is how donors, supporters, they are the ones who are really behind me 100%. When I pick up the call and say, hey, I need your help, even though it's $20.20, folks are not hesitant to give me those funds, right? People are, you wouldn't imagine how many DM messages that I get and say, where folks are saying, oh my God, thank you for being a representation of what it means to be a young Haitian-American woman running for office. And now that you're doing it, I can see myself doing it. That makes me, even if I get one comment like that, that makes me feel like I'm making a difference, whether it's a little Haitian girl or a little Haitian boy, that they can say, oh my gosh, I can see myself on the dais in the year 2030, etc. So continue, for everybody on this platform, continue supporting each other, continue supporting those who are putting themselves out there, because it's definitely not easy. And sometimes we know what to say to each other. We know those proverbs, like Nadia has said, the same thing that Marie has said about breaking your spirit. Like sometimes you need those little encouragements or those phone calls from each other for us to keep going. So I truly appreciate not only the Haitian community, but my fellow panelists who are running as well, and continue supporting each other and checking up on each other as we campaign during this COVID pandemic.
Awesome. I love to see it. Look, this was beautiful. Do either of you have any final words? I'll just go through and list your names, and if you have something to say, please feel free to say it. So Commissioner Mack Bernard.
I just want to say thank you very much, Vanessa, for being the moderator. I served as a former city commissioner in Delray, and I was a state representative in Tallahassee. Now I get to serve as a county commissioner. And so seeing the candidates who are running that are part of this panel, it's refreshing to see that the future is bright. And I look forward to continuing to work with everybody who's on this panel, so that way we can continue to change the state of Florida for the better. Thank you.
Wonderful. Nancy?
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to all of the individuals who put this together, especially Vanessa, Joseph, and all the great work that you're not only doing in the Haitian community, but in your city, North Miami, and paving the way for other young Haitian people as well. And I also want to end with, for those who definitely want to get involved and want to support me, I truly need your help. I truly need all of your help to get me to the finish line on November 3rd. So I'm asking you all to contribute to my campaign, $20.20. And if you can't contribute financially, I accept free labor. And if you would like to volunteer, you can do that by emailing me at electnancymetayer.com or visiting my website, nancymetayer.com, and filling out a volunteer form, or calling me directly at 954-507-2095. And I wish everyone on this panel luck, and I'm rooting for you from Coral Springs.
Marie?
Thank you so much to all the partners. Vanessa, thank you for the great work that you're doing, as I mentioned earlier, and really thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this platform with some of the amazing panelists that you have here. I'm asking everyone to please support us. You've seen it how it's done in other communities, how they support good people. I can vouch for every single one of us. Nancy actually is like my little sister, and she knows it. She always check on me. I check on her. Nadia, I do the same thing. And Commissioner Bernard, we're going to do the same thing with you too. It's not that we exclude men, but we in this together. And I'm asking you to support every single one of us here. We need your help. Whatever you can do, reach out to us and either make a donation or support as a volunteer, because you need every single one of us here. We have our heart in the right place, and we want to better our community and also set example for the new generation to follow. So go out. November 18th is right around the corner. Early voting already started in Broward and Dade County. So please get out and vote and support all the candidates that you're seeing on the screen right now, and so many others. But I'm vouching for those who are here more, because we really need you at this time. And you can go to my website as well, www.mariewoodson2020.com. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I look forward. The elections are on August 18, 2020. I look forward to celebrating with all my brothers and sisters and all the other good candidates who are out there. Thank you so much.
Nadia?
Yeah,
well, thanks again, Vanessa, for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you for all you're doing out there for us in the community, representing us and pushing our community forward. It was amazing to be there with you guys. As you know, I'm running for Lauderhill Commission Seat 3. I'm looking forward to bring positive and lasting change into our community. And most of all, I want to say that I want to bring that flag way high up. And I thank you, Mary Woodson, for always encouraging me, always checking a little text from here to here. You know, we in this together, like you said, support is very important as we move forward, because we need to work together. As my campaign slogan said, together we can, and we're gonna make it. I'd like to offer you guys, to whoever's watching now, we do accept donation as well. We need help, because you know, campaign is not cheap, especially now with COVID-19. We cannot canvass anymore. Everything is done electronically, or however it's done now, and it costs money. So support us, please. My website is www.votenadiaassad.com, or you can always reach me by phone, 954-305-7262. Together, let's make it happen. 2020, change is coming.
You know, it has truly been an honor for me to be amongst you all during this panel. It, you know, unfortunately, it's just so short, but I wish we had so much more time to just really dive into the people that you are, because there is so much more for people to know about you. I know a lot of you personally, and it's just so beautiful to see you all running for office and striving and to ensure that this community continues to thrive. So thank you for that. I want to remind everyone to take their 2020 census. We cannot stress it enough. Go to my2020census.gov and make sure that you complete your census, and encourage 5 other friends, family, cousins, everybody to do so. Thank you to the candidates for taking time out of your very busy schedules to join us here. And another big thank you to our media partners who help support this event. So of course, we all know I'm a Shokarela girl. I work with Shokarela, PG Mix, and Golden Bee Inc. Thank you all so much. And of course, thank you to each and every one of you who took the time to attend this event virtually. I want to remind you that early voting is underway in these regions, and at least for the state election. So if you haven't already submitted your absentee or vote by mail ballot, please do so as soon as possible. For the county and city elections, these will coincide with the general elections. So now is the perfect time to pick your favorite candidates and support them. Support all of your favorite candidates by donating to their campaign. Lord knows I have, and it's, you give what you can. Every single dollar makes a difference. Or you can volunteer your time to their campaigns. Nothing is too little. And of course, I want to encourage you all to go to havecoalition.org to join the movement to ensure that we continue to move the Haitian community forward, especially in politics, and make sure that our votes are valued. Thank you all again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you all back here again tomorrow, August 10th, at the same time, 6:30 Eastern. Thank you all so much, and you have a wonderful evening.